Think about the last wedding you went to, learner. Just, picture it in your mind.
Oh, I can already see it.
Right. The heartfelt, maybe slightly embarrassing speeches are finally wrapping up. The champagne glasses are clinking.
Your feet are probably already aching from the dance floor.
Exactly. And then the catering staff emerges from the back. They sweep through the room. They place a massive ceramic plate down right in front of you. And disappointment just completely sets in.
Yeah, the classic wedding letdown.
Because you're at this stunning, expensive, beautifully curated event, but looking down at your dinner, you get like a completely beige piece of chicken
Always the beige chicken.
sitting right next to a perfectly uniform ice cream scoop of mashed potatoes and, I don't know, 3 slightly wilted spears of asparagus.
It is the absolute ubiquitous classic of the wedding industry. I mean, it's entirely functional, of course.
Sure, it keeps you alive.
Right. It provides the necessary caloric sustenance to keep people moving until midnight, but it is rarely, if ever, a memorable part of the evening's narrative. It's just a massive missed opportunity.
It's just fuel. But then if you look at what is actually happening at the bleeding edge of culinary design right now, suddenly that beige chicken breast is entirely extinct.
Oh, completely gone.
We're looking at a hospitality landscape where the food is literally competing with the $5,000 floral arrangements for your attention.
It is nothing short of a complete paradigm shift in event hospitality. We are moving rapidly away from the dinner plate as, like, a mere feeding trough, and moving purposefully toward the dinner plate as a literal, intentional canvas.
Well, welcome to today's Deep Dive, learner. Today, our mission is to explore exactly how to elevate wedding catering from a standard expected meal into an unforgettable, multi-sensory, artistic experience.
It's going to be a fun one.
It really is. We are pulling our insights today from some incredible analysis we found on Weddizer, specifically looking through their articles on modern wedding cuisine and 2026 catering trends.
Such good data in there.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core premise we are exploring today is that in modern weddings, food is no longer just about taste. It's about presentation, creativity, and storytelling.
Yeah, you have to entirely rethink the traditional dinner plate.
Right. It is a blank canvas waiting for a narrative.
And that transition, from a functional plate of food to an artistic canvas, it requires a completely different foundational philosophy.
Because it's not just about picking prettier food.
Exactly. Before we even talk about the specific dishes that are trending, we have to talk about human biology.
Wait, biology?
Yeah, we have to understand why the visual presentation of a menu matters so deeply to us on a neurological level.
Right, because there's that old cliche that guests eat with their eyes first. People say it all the time. But the research Weddizer highlights actually argues that visual presentation physically enhances the perceived taste.
Yes, the perceived taste and the quality of the food. It's not just an expression.
It actually changes the flavor.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't just a culinary idiom. It is a neurological reality rooted in a field called neurogastronomy.
Neurogastronomy, that sounds intense.
It's incredible stuff.
Yeah.
When you look at a plate of food, your brain doesn't just register the image. It immediately starts processing expectations.
Like predicting what's going to happen.
Yes. It pulls from your memories, your visual cortex, and your olfactory system to predict exactly what that bite is going to taste like.
So my brain is essentially running a full simulation of the meal before I even pick up my fork.
Precisely. If a dish looks vibrant, intricate, and carefully composed, your brain literally primes your taste buds to experience complex, high-quality flavors.
That is wild.
There have actually been these fascinating studies where researchers serve the exact same strawberry mousse on a white plate and a black plate.
Same exact mousse.
Same exact mousse.
Yeah.
Diners consistently rate the mousse on the white plate as significantly sweeter and more intensely flavored.
Just because of the plate color.
Simply because the color contrast is sharper. The visual aesthetic fundamentally alters your flavor perception.
That makes so much sense. So to trigger that high-quality perception, chefs have to manipulate the visual variables.
Right.
And the first big variable is color harmony and contrast. We're talking about utilizing edible flowers, fresh herbs, and really vibrant, colorful sauces, so the plate genuinely looks like a painting.
Because nature provides chefs with these incredible high-contrast pigments.
Oh.
Think about the visual shock of, say, a bright purple pansy,
Oh, yeah.
or a vibrant neon green basil oil against a stark white background. Evolutionarily, those bright, fresh colors signal vitality and nutrient density to our brains.
So we're basically hardwired to crave them.
Exactly.
But I mean, visual color is really just a promise, right? Like the bright green oil promises freshness. But once the fork is actually in your mouth, if the physical feeling of the food doesn't match that vibrant promise, the whole illusion just shatters.
Oh, 100%. Which is why top-tier caterers immediately pair those vibrant colors with stark physical textures.
Texture is huge.
Texture is where the storytelling gets physical.
Yeah.
If everything on the plate is soft, the mashed potatoes, the soft chicken, the mushy asparagus,
The worst.
the experience becomes completely monotonous. Your brain actually gets bored. When the brain gets bored, it literally stops paying attention to the flavor.
So you have to create a physical landscape on the plate just to keep the brain engaged.
Yes. When a chef layers a delicate creamy puree, say, a sooky celery root puree,
Yeah.
underneath a piece of perfectly seared flaky fish, and then tops it with a crisp, delicate tuile.
Wait, what? A tool?
A tuile, yeah, it's basically a paper-thin, baked, savory wafer.
Oh, nice.
When they do that, they're creating a dynamic journey. You get the crunch, then the flake, then the silk. It's a literal topography of flavor that forces you to pay attention to every single chew.
I love that idea of a flavor topography,
Yeah.
but for all of that color and texture to actually stand out, you need room.
You do.
And this brings us to what I find to be the most compelling concept in modern plating, which is minimalism and negative space.
It's so elegant.
It really is. If I compare a traditional, overcrowded wedding plate to, say, a cluttered desk, it just feels overwhelming. You don't know where to look. Everything is bleeding into everything
It's
else.
just a pile of food.
Exactly. But modern minimalist plating is like walking into a high-end art gallery. There's one painting on a massive white wall. The negative space makes the focal point pop.
The contrast is everything.
But I have to ask, does leaving a ton of empty space on a plate actually trick our brains into thinking the food tastes more luxurious?
It absolutely does, and it comes down to the psychology of scarcity and intentionality.
Scarcity, really?
Yeah. When a plate is piled high to the edges with food, the subconscious message is abundance, sure, but also a lack of refinement. It's the all-you-can-eat buffet mentality.
Like quantity over quality.
Right. But when a chef intentionally utilizes vast amounts of negative space, they are signaling supreme culinary confidence.
They're essentially saying, this food is so good, I don't need to give you a mountain of it.
Exactly. They are telling you this single sea scallop, perfectly seared and sitting entirely alone on a vast expansive slate, is so exquisite, so perfectly seasoned that it would be an insult to hide it under a mountain of wild rice.
Wow, yeah.
It frames the food as precious. It demands your respect before you even taste it.
Precious, but also highly deliberate, which ties directly into the canvas itself. Weddizer's trend analysis points out a massive move away from standard, glossy white china.
Yeah, that's becoming very dated.
They're moving toward unique plate designs, like rough-hewn slate boards or matte geometric ceramics. It's like picking the right frame for a masterpiece.
That's a great analogy.
Because you wouldn't put a stark, minimalist modern painting in a chunky, ornate gold Victorian frame.
The vessel is absolutely part of the narrative.
Yeah.
A rough-hewn slate board evokes earthiness, rusticity, and an organic grounding. It tells you the food is tied to the land.
And a geometric plate does the opposite.
Right. A sharp, matte black, geometric ceramic plate communicates modernity, precision, and avant-garde thinking. The plate basically sets the mood lighting for the ingredients.
Okay, so we have the philosophy down. We are framing the narrative, we are using negative space to project confidence, and we are playing with texture and color to keep the brain engaged.
We've got the foundation.
Let's shift gears from the theory of modern plating to the actual execution. If I'm sitting at a wedding in 2026, learner, what am I actually eating?
The culinary movements gaining the most traction are fascinating. One of the biggest is elevated gourmet fusion.
But not just random fusion, right?
No, it's vital to understand that this isn't just about mashing flavors from different cultures together indiscriminately. It's about maintaining a rigorous, high-end artistic presentation while weaving those cultural narratives together.
I saw a great example of this in the sources. A saffron-infused risotto served with edible gold accents paired alongside a vibrant sushi-inspired platter.
The visual on that is stunning.
The color palette alone is insane. You have the deep, rich yellow of the saffron, the metallic flash of the gold leaf, and the bright, translucent pinks and oranges of raw, sushi-grade fish.
Culturally, that kind of dish allows couples to weave their personal heritages together right on the plate. It becomes an edible autobiography.
I love that phrase, edible autobiography.
Yeah, if one partner's family is from Milan and the other's is from Tokyo, the plate tells the story of their union. But the key to making it work for a 2026 wedding is that it's completely seamless and elevated.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. A major trend right now is deconstructed classics.
Oh, this is a fun one.
This is the idea that traditional dishes, particularly familiar desserts, are separated into their individual components and plated with a modern twist. But I have to push back on this a little bit.
What?
Yeah, because I've been to restaurants where this happens. Are deconstructed classics just a fancy, pretentious way of making the guests do the work of assembling their own dessert, or is it actually a fun culinary puzzle?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, interactive and deconstructed dishes are absolutely not about making guests work, and they aren't about being pretentious.
Okay, then what are they doing?
They are about breaking the hypnotic, passive state of eating.
What do you mean by a passive state?
Usually, when we eat a slice of standard wedding cake, we just fork it into our mouths while we're talking to the person next to us. We aren't really thinking about it.
Yeah, you're just chewing while chatting.
Right. We already know what vanilla cake tastes like. Our brain goes on autopilot. But when a chef deconstructs a classic, say, a lemon tart,
Okay, a lemon tart.
giving you a sharp swipe of bright lemon curd on the left side of the plate, a distinct crumble of toasted buttery shortbread on the right, and a dollop of perfectly torched Swiss meringue in the center, they are forcing you to be mindful.
Because I can't just take a mindless bite. I have to physically choose my own adventure with every single pass of the fork.
Exactly.
Like, do I want to bite with more meringue this time? Do I want pure tartness from the curd?
It completely transforms a passive consumption experience into an engaging multisensory activity. You have to look at the plate, formulate a strategy, and execute the bite.
It slows you down.
It slows the diner down. And neurologically, when you slow down and actively engage with your food, the memory of that meal becomes incredibly sticky.
You actually remember it.
You will remember that deconstructed lemon tart years later, whereas a standard slice of cake is forgotten by the time you hit the dance floor.
And speaking of sticky memories, the trends are moving beyond just deconstructing food into creating full-blown edible art installations.
This is where it gets incredibly visual.
We're talking about sculpted desserts that look like glass and painted sauces that literally resemble aggressive brush strokes on the ceramic.
The painted sauce is a wonderful example of culinary artistry merging with fine art. Chefs are literally using food-safe paintbrushes to sweep vibrant purees across the plate,
Like what kind of purees?
like a deep crimson beet reduction, where the beet juice is boiled down till it's a thick syrup, or a bright green pea coulis, which is just a super smooth, strained puree.
It provides that massive pop of color harmony we talked about earlier, but it also adds an element of kinetic energy.
Yes.
It looks like movement. It looks like the chef just flicked their wrist across the canvas. But my immediate thought is, how on earth do they pull that off?
It's not easy.
Right. A restaurant chef only has to do that for one table at a time. A wedding caterer has to plate that kinetic, painted masterpiece for 200 people simultaneously in a temporary kitchen tent without the food getting cold.
That is the ultimate magic trick of high-end catering.
Mm-hmm.
It requires immense kitchen choreography. The brigade system in the back has to operate like a military drill.
So it's an assembly line.
Exactly. You don't have one chef plating a whole dish.
Yeah.
One chef does the beet reduction brush stroke. The plate slides down. The next chef places the perfectly seared fish. The next chef uses tweezers, literally large metal tweezers, to place 3 specific microgreens. The plate slides under a heat lamp. It is a massive logistical undertaking to mass-produce art.
Which perfectly segues into the stylistic trends driving these culinary decisions. The data points to 3 main aesthetics peaking in 2026.
Let's hear them.
First, there's organic and nature-inspired designs, heavily utilizing natural elements like edible leaves, wood textures, and deep earthy tones.
That grounded.
Then there's luxury minimalism, which we touched on, those clean, elegant plates, subtle details, and premium, hyper-focused ingredients.
Beautiful.
And finally, the interactive dining experience where the guests are actively customizing their dishes.
What links all 3 of those distinct trends together is the desire for profound authenticity.
Because it's about the couple's vibe.
Yes, couples don't want a generic luxury meal anymore. They want the food to feel genuine to their specific lifestyle.
Makes sense.
If a couple spends their weekends hiking and foraging, bringing rough wood textures, pine-smoked flavors, and earthy tones to the plate reflects their actual life. If they are sleek, fast-paced urbanites, That stark luxury minimalism tells their story.
Okay, I love dreaming about edible gold.